In this video, I interview Eric from Southeast Missouri. He was also in an area where one of my past guests was having extreme Bigfoot activity. My friend Bill claims these creatures surrounded his camp and the activity intensified to the point where he had to pull out his firearm and fire a few warning shots to get these creatures to back off. But Eric was there during that time frame, and he also experienced the activity, and he wanted to share his experiences with us all here on Sasquatch Theory. If you enjoy the channel, please like the video, subscribe, and comment down below. And of course, if you have a Bigfoot encounter you would like to share, feel free to get in touch with me sometime.
2017, doing research into ghosts, I was told about a place north of Dexter, Missouri that had ghosts in it. And so we went out there doing some hikes and stuff, looking to see where everything was at, get ready to set up. And of course, it never happened. And at that time, when I seen that there was Bigfoot, I decided to see if there was a local Bigfoot group in the area, and I did it. There was SEMO. And so I got on their page and I was watching them, and nothing real exciting popped up. But then there was a guy over in Malden, Missouri that was like 20 minutes from me. I was living in Kennett at the time. And here's a Bigfoot print that he's got posted. And I'm like, whoa, dude, I'm 20 minutes from you, where you at? But he wouldn't give nobody no information. And I've talked to him since then, and he said that there was a family of them that came out there and stayed during the summer. They were killing the peach trees. They were just eating everything off of them. And once the peaches quit producing, then they had moved on. And there's been no sign of any Bigfoot in that area since. But I got a hold of SEMO. And I said, you know, decided to go to one of their meetings. It was over in Farmington, a couple-hour drive. So I drove it, me and my wife, had their meeting with them, met the group. And Bill was talking about he wanted to go, but he didn't have anybody go with him. I said, hey, I'll go. And so me and Bill went 2.5 years camping out here. And so we had gotten it set up. It was in June. I've got pictures on my phone where I've got exact dates. And Bill had came out a day early from what I was gonna come. I had to work that day, and we had to go take care of some business over in Jonesboro, Arkansas, seeing some of the kids. And I'd got a message on my phone, Bill had got run off. And apparently he had one in front of the tent, growling at him. He shot a few rounds off. He thought, well, it ought to go quiet. No, it went crazy. Well, me and my wife, we'd done sold all of our camping gear. We stopped, Academy, picked up a few things, headed out here. Got here a little after 8, Bill had just left. They were telling us about it. Well, when I stepped out of my truck, and it's parked right about where it's at now, I got out and I hit the ground, looking. And they said, oh, there's a footprint over here, and Susan's already got it cast. And I said, what about this footprint? What about this one? What about this one? Over in the corner there was all kinds of footprints. Now these are the ones where they just scraped the grass. I get on over here where it's at a slope. Here's an imprint. The heel is 6 inches down. The toes are 3 inches. And it's at a slope. And of course, grass was kind of growed over the top of it. You reach in there, you could feel the toes. Oh my God. So me and my wife decided we're staying. And there was a group out here, and about 11 o'clock they asked me to do a yell. I said, okay, so I done one. And I got a reply back a few miles away. But something I skipped was, while I'm looking the ground over, I was out on the road looking at the other side, and this all-terrain pulled up. And he's like, "Hey man, you lose something?" I said, "No." I said, "Buddy of mine over here got run off last night and don't know why." So we were just looking around. He said, "Well man, there was some people out here camping for 4 days. You know, they just left a couple of days ago. It's probably right before Bill pulled in." And he said they were fishing and they were throwing fish all over the side of the road. I'm like, "What, fish guts, heads?" He said, "No, the whole fish." And I'm like, "Well, that's crazy." And I'm assuming that's why there was such a crowd of Bigfoot here. Normally they're right here watching up on that hill, or they're back here in these woods. And I'm like, okay, that's what it was. They were all coming down here expecting to get a meal. They didn't get it. They were mad and they were ticked off. And of course, as soon as it got daylight, Bill threw all of his stuff in his truck, left, swore never to come back, even though he did. So a couple of weeks later, me and Bill come back. Or should I say, I done that yell at 11 o'clock. Group was still here. Getting mixed up. And got a reply. Everybody leaves at midnight. Me and the wife sitting here in the dark. The only thing we'd picked up was some ice, cooler at the house, and a couple of sleeping bags. We were sleeping in the back of the car, and some chairs. And 11 o'clock, that yell rolled through. Everybody left at 12. We're sitting there for an hour watching, or should I say, she's watching her phone. She's reading a book. I'm sitting there kind of watching the hilltop, what I could see it that late at night. And we both just look at each other and start blaming each other for this stench that had just hit both of our noses at the same time. And we're sitting there blaming each other. Not a clue we had one standing out here close to us that was mad. And so the smell had went away. Didn't last but maybe a minute. Wife says, "Well, I'm gonna get in the car and sleep." She comes around, starts getting in the car. Then there's a yell down by the creek. And we're like, okay, I'm not gonna give a reply. I don't want this guy coming up here. Because it was the same yell as what it had been 2 hours earlier. So we got in the car, had no incidents. Next day, Darlington came out. They had a tent. We got it set up, got comfortable. It was dead that night. Darla's son and his friend came out. They went out running through the woods, yelling, screaming. We was all just laughing. And as Darla's son was walking towards me, I was sitting on the picnic table, and this light went boop and just came up and stopped. And so I brought it to everybody's attention. Well, Ken just so happened to have a set of binoculars that was military grade, really strong. Once he got that thing focused, it was a triangle with 3 lights in the corner. And we're like, you gotta be kidding. And it had moved up slowly, took it about 45 minutes, but then it got like into orbit with the moon, kind of following the moon at a distance. And we're like, you gotta be kidding. I mean, that was the most excitement we had. And that was about all there was on that trip.
Did you guys see the black triangle in the area where you had Bigfoot experiences at camp?
We had one that streaked across the sky out here one night. And it had streaked across. And the thing of it is, it was setting still. And then it just shot off. And it's like this one just kind of built up speed, and it just finally just disappeared. And then I've seen one out in my yard last year at this time. Never seen a UFO in my life. Thought I seen one time when I was living down in Kennett, coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a B-1 bomber. The light configuration was weird on it, but I spent time in the military police. I'd seen most of the aircraft that military has. That one was new. Never seen it before, so it was...
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
So going back to Bill's encounter, he claims that the Sasquatch came up around his tent. They were vocalizing, and he said it got pretty aggressive and some strange things happened. So he fired off a shot into the air.
Yeah.
And he said they took off running, or they were screaming because they thought one of them had been shot. What happened?
He said all the noise was going on, and he unzipped his tent and looked out and seen one about 20 feet in front of him. He could see the outline of it, standing there growling. And so he stuck his .45 out the door and let off, I think it was 3 rounds. And he said, I would have thought this, it would have got quiet. But he said that thing went running through the woods, just crashing everything, and the whole hillside had lit up with yelling and screaming and everything imaginable. And it scared him. I mean, it scared him good.
Yeah.
But it's not near as bad as some of the other stuff that we've had go on out here. I mean, some of it's been scary. Others have been not so scary, just curiosity.
So tell me about the other experiences that you've had here in this area.
We were out here that first time with me and Bill, and it was a couple of weeks later, and Matt Marshall was out here checking on us and making sure everything was fine. They had left. Bill says, hey, you gonna do your call? It was 7:15, June, daylight. I said, well, I can, but I don't see how it's gonna do a whole lot of good being this early in the day. And he said, well, give it a try. So I did. And I'd put my phone up, recording. It was nothing. I turned around, deleted it, stuck it in my pocket, walked back in my truck, got a soda, got over here and right about where you're at, where my tent was sitting. Got in front of my tent. Right here in the woods came the loudest, longest scream I've ever heard. His tent was up by the road. He done got in there, kicked his shoes off, kicked back, relaxed. This thing was still going off. Bill was out of his tent standing next to me saying, you see what I'm telling you? And I just kind of looked at him, I said, yeah. And I just go back to looking at the treetops. And this thing went on with such a loud yell that it shook me. I'm like, what am I doing? Have I lost my mind? And so, because Bill's like, get in the tents, they'll come out and get close and you can hear them, blah, blah, blah. So we'd got in the tents. It was a little after 10, I think. Back here in this field, there's a cornfield, but there is a small tree row. And we start hearing a bunch of yelling and screaming going on back there. And then we hear another bunch down by the creek yelling and screaming. In fact, I've got some videos I want to send to you so you can boost it up. I've never sent them to anybody else. And everybody that hears it on the phone says, oh, this dog's barking. From what I heard out of my ears, and I had a pair of parabolics at the time. It wasn't a dog, it was like a gorilla. And it sounded like you got 1 or 2 F's going down here. either fighting or the other F. The other group down there, they started moving off while they were mouthing. And you could literally tell they were moving off while they were leaving. And this group back here was still going on for quite some time. And I pulled my phone out and I started recording some of it from my tent, but you know, it's not the greatest quality. But what I heard was way more than what my phone has picked up. The next night, Bill had set some chicken out on one of the driveways here, put a camera on it. Camera failed. One piece of chicken was gone. I don't know if it was an animal or if it was a Bigfoot. I was passed out that night. He said it sounded like one of them had gotten the chicken, had bit into it, and like it must have had a bad tooth. And started, ooh, you know, didn't like biting into it. Now we've had other things go on out here. Now I know that first time, or it was like the second or third time, I'd gotten a pair of night vision binoculars. Bill was laying down. I said, well, I'm gonna set up, I'm gonna look around. And I started looking around these bushes, or up on this hillside. I see part of a face staring at me. And luckily the binoculars have got camera, so I snapped a picture of it. And then I got on over here, and then I seen some weirder faces, almost like aliens, with the big head and the big eyes. I snapped a couple of shots of them. I don't know if it's pareidolia or not. I know from what I seen, it scared me enough. I got in the tent. I wasn't out there for very long. But we've had a lot of weird things happen here. We were out here one night, 2 in the morning, and I'm hearing this owl going off repeatedly, barn owl, just constantly. Finally I said, well, shoot. I put my parabolics on, pointing in that direction, still going off. Then all of a sudden it's, you know, it stops and starts whoo hoo 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 hoo. I'm like, starts singing. I'm like, what is that? I mean, they mimic animals. They do mimic owls. That I'm positive of. But that was the first time I had knew that they were doing an owl call. There's no owl going to do that 50 times in a row and just it be repeated. Just one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. You know, they'll go off, they'll wait a minute or two, go off again. And sometimes they'll do that sound where they sound like a monkey. The owls do. But this was strictly just owl call, on the point. As far as right here, there are some foxes with some dens. They will come up here and camp at night. So if you hear something around your tent, really not one that's going to be that, you know, nothing dangerous for you. But we've had them come fairly close. Here, it was a lot of yelling, screaming. In fact, I was over here by the road and I had a who contest going on for about 10 minutes. I'd go who, it would go who back. Around here, they don't go whoop. They go who. And me and him was going back for 10 minutes, just back and forth, back and forth. Susan's standing there, she's in awe. And Steve's up here doing barn owls, which he was getting some replies way back there in the back. My wife come looking for the dog and flashlight hit up in the woods and it decided to quit, which is okay. I mean, how long can you sit there and interact with one? So I had the ideal of going over to the other campground. Bill didn't want to go. I did. And when we went, he's like, well, this is on you, you know, this is your little expedition. And like, dude, we're working together as a team. This ain't no I'm in charge crap. That's the way I look at when we do something. I've been ghost hunting for probably 15 years. Lived in a haunted house for 12. I've had ghost experience since I was 13. When going ghost hunting, we do our own thing. Here you go, here's some equipment, grab what you want. Go do your own thing, I'll go do mine. I've made a lot of believers out of pure skeptics that way. But we had went, and we had a lot of yells, a lot of calls. An hour before daylight, it's almost every time we're there, an hour before daylight, tree knocks, calling them in. And so Bill was like, oh, this is a good spot, let's stay here because it's more enclosed. They can get closer. We were out there Labor Day. Yeah, it was Labor Day of 20, I think it was 21. Me, two daughters, their husbands and kids. Matt and Bill was there, and there was 17 of us out there during the day. There was other kids out there, everything else. We were taking hikes, yelling, screaming, having the babies scream. We were just out there having a ball. Everybody forgot to put equipment out, except for me. I put one trail cam out down by the pond. And so it gets nighttime, 7 o'clock, we have some people leave. We're not gathered up around the fire, it's like 70 degrees, because I had a EMF meter out that gives the temperature. And so we were all set over at the side, and I had my back to the parking lot. My daughter was next to me, she had her back. My wife was sitting over here, but she was facing us. Steve, Bill, Mike was under a tree, and then Ken and Darla was sitting over by me on the picnic table. And it rolls around about 8 o'clock. Wife says, there's somebody in the parking lot. I'm like, the last people left an hour ago. Nobody's moved. She's like, well, where's Mike? I said, Mike's right there. But where she was sitting, she couldn't see Mike, but she could see the parking lot. And we did have a pretty good fire going. And she's like, somebody's in the parking lot. Moon was up, she could see the silhouette. Darla looks, she says, all I see is a reflection off the taillights. And that could have been blocking her view. And my wife just kept on. I finally jumped up, spun around because it dawned on me. What's the deal? Jumped up, spun around. By that time, it moved from the second vehicle away from the camp over to a gate, standing in front of Mike's car. Shoulders almost as broad as his car. And two orange, red glowing eyes staring right at me. And I'm sitting there screaming, there it is, there it is. Find a spotlight, there it is. And I looked down. If you want to keep them in place, never take your eyes off of them. Boom, in the woods he went. Everybody starts grabbing flashlights and everything. We find this pea spot where it was at, like this big around. My wife's got her hand in it, sticking it in everybody's face. Oh yeah, it's pea. And nobody'd been over there in that parking lot for an hour. So I don't see, there's no way one of these women could have done probably half to 3/4 of a gallon. And so we're sitting there looking at that. I'm halfway out in the parking lot. And I'm saying, come on back, you know. And Then we hear the gibberish going. There's 3 of them talking. You could tell by the difference in their tones. And the first one that started talking, it was a deep, deep voice and loud. I know they had to be a good ways off into the woods, because I'd done walked over there shining my light down in the woods. They were a pretty good little piece off, but we could sit there and hear them talking. I'm like, are they griping at us or what? But it was totally quiet that night. Nothing else went on. But the chatter was just, there's 8 people there, 8 witnesses that heard this go on. Yeah, these things started talking.
What did it sound like? Did it sound like Japanese, French, Russian, Native American?
That's just it. They say it's Native American. I don't know. But I know it just
sounded very foreign.
Totally different from anything I've ever thought I would heard. And it wasn't just so much the words, but it was the tone, the depth. I mean, like a bass voice like you've never heard.
If you could mimic it, what did it sound like?
There's no way I could mimic it.
Yeah.
There's no way. I couldn't get my, now I can do a call pretty close to theirs.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to do one before we leave, because I think we got a day watcher over here in the woods. And
was it slower, like blah, 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 or was it really fast?
No, it wasn't going real fast. I think they considered themselves whispering. But that low tone, I mean, the one had such a low tone. There's just no way I could go that low in my voice.
Yeah.
And then you could hear the other 2 because they were at a different tone. Well, the thing of it is, I'd set that trail cam out. We had heard a guy back off in the woods sound like he'd got his 4-wheeler stuck, or his all-terrain, one or the other. We had this guy at about 7:40 coming past that camera, because I set it down off just into the woods. It's a night, I've got 5 cameras that has got the black light. It's turned on, you see nothing. There's no red light. There's no bright white light that comes on. You could walk right past it and never even see it. And he didn't see it. He just walked up the hill, started to go one way, turned around, because he saw he was going back to the woods, came back the other way. And I'm sure he's heard all of us up there, so he went from the pond, between the pond and the woods. And I figured the Bigfoot was following him out. When they heard us, that's when they come up there and got nosy. I mean, the only way you're gonna see one of these things is if they screw up. I don't care how much you wanna see one, unless they screw up, you're not gonna see one. So that was at Labor Day. Okay, Thanksgiving. Got the kids out there again. We're all having a blast. And this time we had my oldest daughter, her next oldest daughter, and my dog, her dog. They're like best buds. We're out there, shoom, shoom, shoom. They're all over the place. I mean, my dog is part Dachshund and part Pit Bull. She weighs about 60 pounds, nothing but pure muscle. Sweet as she can be, gentle as she can be, but she don't like strangers. She's a little standoffish to them until she'll warm up to you. But they were just all over the place. And she likes to play. She'll get out there in a big open area. She'll just run circles around you, try to grab at her. She dodges you. It's like a little game. So we were out there, 3 o'clock in the morning, we wake up. Poof, dogs are gone. I had to go to the bathroom. Cold, again, it's 20 degrees out there. Everybody's bundled up in their tents. I got a small heater going, but it ain't strong enough. Then I had kids in my tent, had another tent with my other daughter, and then I had 2 older granddaughters in the back end of my truck with the camper closed up. That's where the dog had been. They took off for an hour and a half. Son-in-law says, I had a limb come flying down out of the tree at me. There's no wind blowing, none whatsoever. The next thing you know, he says, there's something down there playing in the water. Been down there playing in it the last 3 hours. I'm like, why didn't you wake me up? I got to set up night vision binoculars, we could have seen what it was, but it was a little late then. And so everybody's tired, everybody's ready to get back to bed and warm up. Finally, here comes the dogs. Been gone for an hour and a half. Daughter just unzips hers, let hers in. My tent, a little bit different, with the heater going in there, so we had to, Malcolm got up, put the dog in the back of the truck with the other 2 girls. Wasn't 10 minutes, I get woke up with this smell. I'm gagging. I'm ready to throw up. It's growling. My dog is growling, it is growling. The reason I could tell the difference is that one's in the open, because the truck's right behind the tent. This thing's 3 feet from where my head is laying. One ain't in the back of my truck to get my dog. And I know she went on a playful run with him. And it took a little bit. I had a little 9mm sitting there with me. Thinking, okay, I'm gonna shoot up through the top of the tent if I have to, if it starts destroying my truck. Finally, it walked off. Went down about 100 feet away from us where this gate's at and just started screaming at us. It was ticked off. And that got everybody awake then. Everybody like, what is going on? And I'm like, hey, we just had one in the tent, in the camp. So that was that experience. And then we come into January, New Year's Eve. We got a few of us go out there. The ghost hunting group came down. We just got the house purchased here. We'd sold out in Kennett, bought one up here. We wanted to downsize because we were getting ready for retirement. And so they had stayed the night out there with us, and they had a canopy, put it up. It was like a 12 by 12. It was a big canopy. And the wind was blowing a little bit. It wasn't bad, but it was enough messing with the fire, so we had took one side and kind of tilted it down so it was at an angle. And this canopy took a 3-foot jump, just right towards us. And everybody jumped. Everybody like, what is going on? We go out there, me and Steve go out there looking around, and we find 2 rocks, the size of a softball, on the grass. The grass was about knee high. Now it's January. The grass was under the rocks, not in the grass. These things threw a couple of big rocks at us, apparently at the same time, and got that thing to move. So that was the only thing that happened that night. The next night, everybody left, my wife and niece and her husband, they stayed at our house. I told the guys I would be back out, Bill and Mike. And I went back out there about 10 o'clock. Next morning we get up, we start packing up. It's about 10 after 8. The picture I took says 8:11. There's a kind of like a levee that holds the water in for the pond. It goes down through there and it's all grass, and then there's woods at the backside. I'm sitting here and I'm seeing this black dot swaying back and forth, back and forth. It's the 3rd of January. It's cold. Everybody's ready to get out of there. I yell at Bill, Bill. Mike had done left. I yelled at Bill. Bill's like, man, I want to get out of here. So I just threw my phone up, took a picture. Forgot about it. Because here's this head that's bobbing back and forth right at the edge of the woods. About a month later, Bill calls me up and says, man, did you ever look at that picture? I said, no. Hell, I done forgot about it. He said, well, send it to me. So I sent it to him. I get a text message back, dude, you better look at it. You better look good. Because you can see the little head down there. Then here's a head, shoulders, and an arm standing up by a tree. Looks like there may be another one standing next to it, and then there's another one possibly over here. And I'm like, whoa, didn't have a clue. And that's about the only picture I've been able to get of one. I've had opportunities, but that comes to my next opportunity is April, here. Bill wanted to have a party. Wanted everybody to come out here for his birthday. Okay, everybody shows up. I've got some kids here, we're off over here at the side. It was fairly quiet, had a few things happen. Come Sunday morning, we got to get on the, time to get home. Well, everybody else had pretty much done packed up and left, and we were the last ones to pack up. I was the last one to get up. So we get things packed up and we go to leave. And we get out here on the highway and we're going out. Here's a break in the trees where you can look out into a field. There's one walking. Massive. I mean, it's big. Shiny black hair. And you see the side of it, and it's walking like Patty, throwing the arms up, picking the feet up. Throw them arms up, you could see the hair hanging down, 8 or 10 inches long. Same way with the legs, you could see the hair hanging down. Now this only lasted for probably a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. I knew we had kids driving up behind us. I wasn't in shock, I was in awe. I should have just, let me pull my phone out. No way, I was gonna miss a moment of that. No way. I was sitting there seeing this creature walking across a field. Me and the wife, we're sitting there, we can't believe it. We're finally getting to see one. Maybe at a distance, and it was at a distance, but this thing was so big, it didn't look like it was that much of a distance. And so we'd went on to the house, we told the kids while we had slowed down, and they're like, I should have pulled over. Should have pulled over, grabbed my phone, ran out there, seeing if I could didn't do it. Because I'm out here for myself, I'm not out here for anybody else. I've heard about these things since the 70s, and I wanted to know, are they intelligent or what? And they are. They're intelligent. So that ended that one. So then we had things go on and off. Had a falling out with Bill. And so I had finally went back out there camping with the wife and brother-in-law. They're in a tent sleeping. I'm set up in a screened-in tent, and I've got everything imaginable laying in there. Shotgun, pistol, cameras, everything. My head's on a swivel. I'm looking up and down the road. Parking lot's at this end, road's that way. And I'm just bouncing my head back and forth. Moon was out, wind was blowing pretty good. But when the moon started going down, the wind quit. Snapped my head over to the parking lot. Here's one running across. Parking lot, end of the parking lot. I'm like, okay, they're here. Then I get one in front of me. Got a fire going. I know they can see me somewhat setting in this thing. Here's one in front of me, takes about 8 steps and covers like 40 feet. Crunching the leaves and the limbs. Crunch, crunch. Just slowly walking out in front of me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I know they're here. Well, Mother Nature called. So I finally got out of it, got out of the tent, went to the back of the tent where I had some totes. I had a little potty chair and some wipes. And I'm there and I hear this puppy barking just inside the woods by the gate. Sounded like a puppy dog. And I'm like, now I know they're here. It's spring, must be a baby. Now you would think, okay, if you got a puppy out there or a dog that's had any domestication at all, and they had been dumped out there, you'd think, oh, they'd come running to you. Ain't nothing running to me. So I got over, took care of my business, came back, still barking. I'm like, why is it I can only hear that right here? You know, I was kind of getting the idea maybe they were wanting me to come out or go to them. I was getting a little worried. So I put the stuff up, I go over and I sit down over near the picnic table. I'm looking up. And I'm seeing some really weird stuff going on with some lights. In fact, one done on 290s and to get out of the way of this commercial jet. And they started breaking limbs on the other side of the parking lot. I'm like, oh, I must be boring them. So I go out there and I start talking to them. I go out there by this time, I can't remember if it was fence or it was rock. I think they had the rocks there then. And I'm just sitting there talking to them. I'm sitting there, Eric, you know, trying to get them to reply back. And I was really not getting anywhere. And finally, sun come up, everything else. I ended up being up all night. But the thing of it is, while this was going on, after I got out of that tent, I had a calmness about me. Like, okay, I'm not scared. I mean, I wasn't excited. I wasn't saying, where's my camera? Where's my gun? Where's this? Where's that? I'm just chilled out. It gets daylight. Wife, brother gets up. They take off town. I go fishing. And then I get nervous. I'm used to being up all night and half the day at that time. I start getting jittery and nervous. And there's times when I get this feeling, okay, I need to turn around and not go there. It's happened twice. The first time it happened, I wound up in the hospital from some type of stinger bite. And then second time was, no, the weatherman's wrong. It's gonna snow. We'd got about 20 miles from the house and turned around. And this is what I had going on there was, we gotta go. When I got back, I told the wife, we're packing up, we're leaving. She said, what's wrong? We were supposed to stay another night. I said, we're not staying here. We're not doing it. Something bad is gonna happen. We gotta go. After I got home, I was fine. I was my normal self. But I just had such a bad feeling. I did not go back out there camping for 1.5 years. And so, you know, we just moved up here, got a job. Job's pretty much, I'm working every other weekend. Job's got me pretty tied down. The house has got me tied down. The yard's got me tied down. And so one day I said, well, I'm gonna go fishing. Well, behind the house, not that great a spot. There's a concrete bridge down the creek. All right. The same creek that's out here is the same one in my backyard. I went down to a concrete bridge that's off one of the other roads, and I'm sitting there fishing. I caught a fish. Brought it in, got it on a stringer, got it put down. I look up, here's one, got a hold of a tree, bent over, looking down, just standing there, trying to look inconspicuous. And the thing of it is with this one, you knew it wasn't a shadow because you couldn't see through it. But it wasn't the shiny black hair I would have expected. It was almost like he was trying to camouflage himself. This is the only reason why I halfway believe in the camouflaging. You know, as far as them disappearing, stuff like that, I don't know about that. But this one here had kind of camouflaged itself. I just started yelling and screaming and cussing it. Go away, I'm not here for you, just leave me alone, I don't want you to bother me. And went back fishing, threw out 3 times, looked back over there, gone. That figure that was standing there is gone. I'm like, good, now leave me alone. And so it wasn't probably a month later, I was mowing the yard. We had to have a new septic system put in, so the grass was just starting to grow back. And I came around with the mower and I was looking down. Here's a print in my yard, big as life. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. They have found their way to my house. Had stepdaughter staying with us, her 2 kids. She has a dog, I have a dog. She'd go out at night to smoke. There was nights when those dogs would literally, her dog was big, would literally try climbing in the car window. Because there was something out there that had them so scared, they wanted in that car. It wasn't for attention. So I believe they've been hanging around the house, some at the time, and I figure, okay, they knew my Avalanche, they know this newer truck, they figured they found me, I go to their property, they came to mine. And they will follow you home. Without a doubt, they will follow you home. So, back last October, or actually it was back last year in the spring, I had a thing at the rec center. I'd rented a room, posted up for ghost hunting. And I had one person show up. She's already established at ghost hunting. She's been to some really great places. So she joins us, but she's like, I don't want nothing to do with the Bigfoot. Well, by that fall, she calls me up and says, I want to go Bigfoot hunting. I just went to a convention, heard all this stuff, I want to go. I said, okay, so we went in October. We're sitting there. She's a believer, but she's not a knower. And the first night, no, it was the second night. Second night, I'm like, they gotta be around somewhere. But I wasn't feeling it. So I'd done a yell at like 10 o'clock. Got a reply. Probably 50, 75 yards into the woods. I done another yell, got another reply. Done another yell, got another reply. Got 3 of them. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding. And she's sitting there with her mouth dropped open. She's like, great. Well, I finally laid down. I was tired because second night I always sleep. I wake up about 1, come out of the tent, use the bathroom, go back in. She's hearing all these limbs breaking. She's like, what do I do? What do I do? She didn't know what to do, and she was up for quite a while because they were making a lot of noise back there, and I'm dead out of it. Next morning, she's like, what was I supposed to do? I said, yell at me, wake me up. Well, what would you have done? I'd have got out of the tent, went over, got a soda, went over by the tent, or sat down on a rock, started talking to them. She's like, what? Yeah, just started talking to them. They want some entertainment. I said, I want to try and draw them out, get them to talk. And she said, oh. Well, next day we start or, you know, while we were talking about that, we were packing up. We started finding little, I forget what she said they were, but they're like a plum, about that big around, a plum. And there were several of them in the camp. Nobody brought any. All I brought was a bag of apples. I don't even think she even had that. But none of us brought any plums. And it's like, apparently there's some out there in the woods somewhere. And they started throwing them at us, I guess, trying to get us to get out, trying to get our attention. And she said, "Is that normal?" I said, "Yeah." I said, Bill set a trail camera out down the road here, down the path. And the next morning when we went back to get it, the stump that he was standing on to put the trail camera up, there was 4 rocks. And she said, "Well, why 4?" I said, "Well, I guess maybe because there was 4 of them. I don't know." But that night I had also cooked up some leg quarters. And over by that gate there was 3 stumps. And I'd put a leg quarter on each stump, put a trail camera on it, low on a post. It goes off 2 o'clock in the morning. There ain't no chicken. Chicken's gone. But something tripped that camera. Something got that chicken. There's just a lot of things like that that you just cannot explain. That's the problem. But what do? I mean, we've had possums come up in the camp, foxes, you know, all sorts of different animals. I had some cameras set out around camp one time, and I was starting to see what was on it, and I'm like, I got hair. And, oh yeah, go to the next one, it's a possum. You know. I know they can see these trail cams. Even with the cameras I've got, I invested in 5 of them that you just can't see. But that UV light coming off of it, you know they can. They're not fully human, but they're not fully animal either. I mean, what was it? The Genome Project said they'd been around for 15,000 years and that it was a human mother and an unknown male that created this. Is it Nephilim? Giants? Is this the giant that David took down? Don't know. That's just it. Or, you know, I mean, the flood was supposed to have wiped these things out, but did it? Did Noah by any chance have a couple of them on his boat? Who knows? I mean, we really can't determine how old the story is for Noah. You know, I think the pyramids are much older than what they are. And what's, you know, mentioning the pyramids, we're in the same hemisphere going around the planet as the pyramids, Roswell. You got the Cape Girardeau UFO crash south of town. You've got UFO sightings all over this place. Fredericktown, Piedmont, Grand Tower. These are all well documented with lots of witnesses. And I didn't think I would ever see a Bigfoot, never thought I'd see a UFO, none of that. But they are right here in this area. And I believe they're, on this side of the river, I believe they're from probably South St. Louis to Cape. On the other side, you're looking at South St. Louis, probably Memphis. I've had people call me from Dyersburg, Tennessee, said, "Hey dude, I've got some over here by the river. I just go out here and I just listen to them yell and scream." I've been told by a woman that thought she was going to give me some pictures but didn't, but supposedly there's a woman on the other side on the Illinois side that's feeding a family. Anytime she forgets to set out food, they get a little ugly. They'll go slapping on her house, everything else. And supposedly she's got some great pictures of it, and I wish she would come forward with them. But now you've got AI that's hit. Ain't nobody gonna believe anything. I don't care who you are. I can get videos of one walking right up to me, having a talk with me, walking off. Nobody would believe it. I don't care if it's just walking off at a distance, whatever. It gets manipulated, it gets turned. Now there's no point in getting video. There's no point in getting pictures unless it's just for yourself. When I came out here, this was for me. I wanted to know. Just like with the ghost hunting. I have so much experiences of ghosts that why not? I got talked into it by my wife's niece and her husband, and we wound up making it a thing. And we've done a lot of ghost work down there around Kennett. Here we have problems because of all the Catholics. They're demons. So we have a lot of problems here trying to get into places, but also I don't really have any kind of a crew. It's just me and my wife. We now have 2 more. One's not into the ghost. I'm hoping to get a crew of about 8 to 10 people to come out here so that we can set up in different spots at night, thermals, all that, see what we can find, see what we can capture on video. That's what I would like to do, but finding people that will make the time and get off their couch. I know I used to watch Finding Bigfoot. After I came out here and had my experience, I'm like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't have a clue. You know, they're entertaining us. So I don't hardly even, I will watch a few podcasts here and there. I've watched quite a few of yours. But that's about as far as it can go, because I'm looking for the knowledge of the do's and don'ts, what I can get away with and what not to try to piss one off and not get drug off into the woods. I don't think the ones around here are violent. They're used to being around people. If you went up in Alaska, you disappear. Because right here, after the first night that we stayed and Bill was run off, my kids, my daughter heard my wife say one night, I said, no, we'll be gone too. She didn't hear me say that. They went trying to find us. They had about 6 or 8 different counties looking for us. Well, one of them was posting to one of the other Bigfoot groups, and somebody in SEMO seen it, and they called Susan. She called them, said, hey, they're fine. But they had the cops come out and check us. There was 3 of them. They dragged me off the side. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. You know, they thought maybe I was being held against my will by the other people here. I said, no, I'm fine. They're like, so we understand you're out here looking for Bigfoot? I said, they ain't much of a look anymore. And they're like, can you show us proof? Yeah, let me grab a flashlight. And I showed them several of the prints, which wasn't all that impressive for them, but when we got to the one that the heel was 6 inches in and 1'3" ground you could knock on, it sounded like wood. They stuck their hand in there, felt the toes, pulled out their phone, started taking pictures. The girl that was with them, she's from Alaska. She had an experience when she was little. They were in their family was in the tent and they were being harassed by them. They were out there yelling, screaming at them, slapping the tent, everything else. At the time, I think she said she was 5, so she really didn't understand what was going on. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding. And she said, I had no clue there was any around here. I said, oh yeah, there are. And she said, well, how did you get into it? I said, well, I've been ghost hunting all these years. And she said, oh, we got a video of a full apparition in the jail. I'm like, whoa, is there any way I can get in there? Not unless you get arrested. And so we've had people come out here that's just randomly showed up. Made believers out of them. I'm still in contact with her. I haven't talked to her in a while, long while. But, you know, she's not interested in coming out here camping or anything. And a lot of people are interested in what you're doing. Just that nobody wants to get involved. They don't want to get up off the couch. I'm 63 years old, bad back, double knee replacement. I'm out here. In fact, I just bought an e-bike, make it easier for me to go deeper in. First, I got to learn to ride the thing. I blew a tire out within 5 minutes of my first ride. And so I'm learning about it and gonna get it out here so I could do more work, a lot, you know, and get back into it now that I'm retired and be able to see what I can find. My ultimate goal is to have one come out in the open and talk. Try to communicate. That is the ultimate goal. I don't care if I get it on video or not. Don't care if it's video, picture, nothing. Just the two of us to sit down and to have a communication with each other. Bring your baby out. I want to hold your baby, you know. I don't care if it pees all down me, you know. And that's what I want. I want to make contact. I'm not going to say I ever will. I guess I'll call you if I do.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear about it. Okay, so this black Sasquatch that was shiny looking, how far away from this campground was it when you encountered it?
Right up the pavement.
So really close.
Right up the pavement.
Okay.
I figure it was here watching us, and when it seen we were packing up, they said, oh, they're leaving. I'm going on home. We had a ghost right after the one that was in the parking lot. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm going to anyway. Bill had said, I'd like to see y'all do a ghost session, which of course, that got denied. A lot of people got upset over it. But I had set out a couple of EMF meters, had nothing. So we broke out the ghost box, spirit box. Wife gets about 20 feet from me, puts on the headphones, and it's nothing but a little radio that scans radio stations. And what the ghost does is it picks up words. I had no clue I would get a hold of anything. I figured it was all going to be random, it's all going to be crap, and be done. We're sitting there, I'm asking questions. We have Jarrett show up. Jarrett died in the woods because of his meds. Doesn't know if his body was ever found or not. Couldn't get his age or what year it was. Couldn't get an answer on that. But I asked, is there any Bigfoot around? Many. Where are the closest ones at? 2 in a cave. I think I know where the cave's at. Never been up there. I've been told there's one up there, but it's caved in. I don't know, haven't been there. But I've also, it's not far from the picture I've got of the one standing and where the one had his head bobbing. It's not far from there. The tree knocks happen an hour before daylight. It's right up there near that cave. But I've never bothered to walk up there. Didn't want to disturb them, didn't want to start a fight with them. But, you know, because I don't want to step into their front yard. So, and I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going there. Unless maybe I got about 20 heavily armed people with me and I don't want nothing shot other than the air. Because I do not want to harm these things. You think with the way Bill was out here, They're never alone. There's 2 or 3 of them at least. Bill out here, he said they was probably 25 or 30. And I think Steve found some on Google Earth that was around 30 of them that was out walking across the field. And Mike took it to school, put it up on a big screen, and sure enough, he said, I can confirm those were Bigfoot walking across those fields and not, you know, just random shadows. So we know they're out here. Myself personally, I estimate there is probably 1,500 to 2,000 between St. Louis and Cape, just in this area, because I've been to other sites up the river and have found evidence of them being there. They're not just right here. There's different groups of them that are scattered down or up the river. And I'm sure there's some more that's down the river too. The other side, probably even more, because it's a longer stretch. In this area, mainly what we have looking at us is the females and the juveniles. And the juveniles are the ones that will go throwing rocks, you know, just to get your attention, watch you jump. Entertainment. We're entertainment for them. But they are entertainment for us too. And that's why we're out here trying to be more entertaining.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping maybe, just maybe, I can get one to come out. I figure I've got probably at least 8 to 10 good years left in me. So I'm gonna start hitting it kind of hard, seeing what I can get. I'm not gonna do just this area and that area. I'm gonna be hitting other spots. Maybe I can get luckier somewhere else. Maybe this group is just so used to seeing the same ones and, oh, well, come out, talk to us, entertain us, you know. Maybe another group will want to be even more nosy. And that's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much how it went over that time.
What did the black Sasquatch look like? Did you see the face? About how tall was it?
No, did not see the face. It was a side shot. I didn't bother honking a horn or nothing else. I didn't want him to go down on all fours, because I know that grass probably had to be at least knee high to him. Probably up to here on me, who knows. But you could see the arm swing and the hair just hanging down. And it was black and shiny, well groomed.
Like a coal black, jet
Yeah,
black?
I mean black. I mean, you can see why one can be standing near you in the dark and you not know it.
You hear of people having these biblical encounters and they say it was the whitest white I've ever seen. Well, when I encountered the Sasquatch, it was like the blackest black I've ever seen. Like, you can't picture how black it is in your mind. Once you see it, it's like, wow.
Right.
That's like a whole nother shade of black.
And the thing of it is, people talk about orbs. And people, I've seen on some podcasts and stuff where people talk about the orbs are following these Bigfoot around. These orbs are spirits. They're ghosts. They're following them around. They ain't got nothing else to do. And that's why I was surprised when I got a hold of one. And I've contacted Jarrett several times on, hey, can you go bring some Bigfoot into us? Yeah, I'll go get some, you know. And a few hours later, we'll start hearing stuff.
Is Jarrett deceased or?
Jarrett is dead. Okay. He died out here because of his meds. Don't know how old he was, what he was hunting, what he was doing, nothing else. And the funny thing about it is, normally with a spirit box, you get one-word responses. He was making sentences. That surprised my wife. And my daughter was sitting next to me when we were doing this, and I told her, I said, just go and feel around her. Go feel around Mom. And she said, well, what do I want to, see if you can find any cold spots. So she was about 6 feet behind her, and she's like, Dad, there's a cold spot right here. What's that supposed to mean? I said, that's where the ghost is standing. Okay, here she comes back. And so, I mean, ghost is so much easier than Bigfoot. So much easier. Because I can go out for half the night, have a lot of encounters, go home, have content, have things to talk about. Doing this, last 2 camping trips have been none. Nothing. We did get, one guy got some stuff that was way off in the distance off one of his recorders. And he came out here for a few nights and it was dead. Completely nothing. And sometimes you can get them, sometimes you can't. I think the bigger the group you got, the better chance you have of them getting closer. Because they figure, oh, well, you're not by yourself. There's a group of you all huddled up. I can come in kind of close, get a good look.
Yeah.
And you can walk right by these things and never even know it. I don't care. I mean, my hunting has gone to crap. I just don't have no hunting going on anymore because I know what's out here. Even at my own house, I have deer. I live a mile down a private road on an old Indian reservation there in Old Appleton. I could hunt right there, and I have a few times. That's about the only place where I feel safe to do it. Coming out here to hunt, no.
Yeah. I notice you mentioned that these things will follow you home. And after Bill had that encounter here, that experience where they surrounded his tent, he started having activity miles away at his house around the Mark Twain National Forest.
Right.
Do you think they followed him, or do you think it was just a coincidence that they were there too? Because there are reports from that area in the past.
Before I met Bill, Bill said he was camping out up there not far from his house and that he was having some stuff go on there. So I think they were already there. I think Bill had already pretty much set the precedence for that, you know, because he was already out there camping. They knew it. They followed him home because he wasn't that far. And so they were keeping an eye on him. I think that's where that came from.
Yeah.
I know Bill said he seen 2 huge orbs there behind his house at one time, you know. And it's like I told him, it's spirits. You don't know what kind of spirit they are. I've done ghost sessions at my house. And needless to say, the Indians ain't very friendly to a bunch of white folks. So they're telling us, leave, get out of here.
Okay, so another question I had, you mentioned hearing like this dog whimpering or barking.
Puppy barking.
Puppy barking. Did you feel like something was trying to lure you out in the woods?
I felt like I was trying to be lured out in the woods. That was when I said that I had to go home that next day. I think I got zapped by whatever it is they do. They had me calm down while they were there and because I mean, they were being really interactive that night. And especially with breaking limbs, want me to come and talk. And I sat there and talked for probably 2 hours, just trying to get them to come out. I even took apples and threw them out there in the woods. Never had nothing thrown back at me. But I was doing everything I could to coax them out, but it's like I got zapped with something. And the next day I was like, you know, the next morning I was like scared. I was scared to stay.
Can you describe the feeling of being zapped? What is it? Like being hit by infrasound, or is infrasound different than being zapped?
It wasn't nothing that I heard. It was just, it was like a bit of mind control. It's like I'm getting hit with something that, you know, which at first I really didn't realize it because I'm calm. Why not got a camera out? Why not got a video camera going? Why am I sitting here with 2 guns sitting over here in a screened in tent and my holster's empty? I don't know what's out there for sure. Even though I'm really sure it's a Bigfoot because I seen one run across the parking lot, but why was I so calm? There was 2 in the tent. They weren't interested in what was going on. They wanted to sleep. I'm the only one out there interacting with them. And then the next day, I'm like, we gotta go. And my wife's like, what? I said, something bad's gonna happen. I said, I don't know if there was gonna be an accident with one of us or something bad gonna happen to one of us that they were trying to warn me about or what, but it's like in my mind, it was like panic. I was panicking in my mind for absolutely no reason. We need to leave. You know, because it was just that, it's strange to describe. You know, we've got to go. And that's what we done. And after that, I was fine. But I didn't come back out here for a year and a half either.
Yeah, so they like projected fear to you, or maybe like you had this sixth sense of some type of warning, like something bad is gonna happen.
Right.
And I've heard that the dog whimpering, the baby crying, something saying help me in the woods is sometimes associated with Bigfoot, but also other cryptids that people claim are out in the woods. So
well,
you followed your intuition, you got out of there, and that was probably the best move you could make.
Back last January, I was out here with another one, and we were out searching for prints. And I'm thinking they may have backed off out of this area because I don't have a picture of it, but they do, of a 3-toed print with an arch. I don't know, I'd say it's about 12, 13 inches long, about 4 inches wide, but 3-toed with an arch. Don't have no clue what that was. And the thing of it is, we found about 20 of these prints scattered out in the area. I'm like, this thing was all over the place. And the last 2 times camping, it's been really quiet. Nothing's come around. And of course, we're coming back out this weekend. And I'm just hoping that they're coming back around. If not, we're gonna try something else, but I think something else has come through the area that they don't like. I don't know if it's supposedly an alien footprint. I don't think it's Dogman. There was no claws on this thing. I've heard something about, I know Bill talked about some gnomes. Something like a gnome out here. Little short guy, dressed up, and that he'd gotten one on trail cam, but he turned around, he deleted it. And I'm like, okay, I've never seen anything like that out here. I'm not denying his word. There could be. We don't know. Could be portals that are opening up, letting some stuff in. I've never seen a portal, but I'm not gonna say that it couldn't be possible. I'm not gonna say that it couldn't be possible for something to go back and forth. Because we are just now getting into an industrial age of what, the last, not even 200 years, or about 200 years, we've gotten into the industrial age. Who knows where we're gonna be 200 years from now. I mean, it's only been, what, the last 20 years, now your phone is a computer, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's rapidly accelerating.
Yes, technology is rapidly accelerating, and who knows where somebody else is at. You've got to remember, we had a flood that wiped out everybody, and then we had to rebuild back. And in fact, there's I forget how long ago it was, but they said it was a meteor strike or something that put the human population down to just a few thousand. That is remarkable that we even survived it. And so I think we just keep having setback after setback after setback.
Yeah. The dinos went extinct, animals from the Ice Age, humans will follow.
Yeah,
in their
probably will.
shadow.
If we don't get off this planet, we probably will.
Yeah.
And it could be, what, about 4 years from now?
Yeah. Could happen tomorrow.
They say that one's coming, it's really huge, and it's gonna come from what they're figuring between the Earth and between the satellites. It's gonna be in a lower, coming across, lower than the satellites are.
Yeah. A lot of people ask, why do you think there's so many Bigfoot encounters now? Do you think something's going on? And I tell people possibly it's because of the internet. You know, you're hearing more stories because there's more outlets for it. But also, if people really are having more sightings, maybe these things can sense that something's going to happen, like Mount St. Helens is going to blow again, or Yellowstone, or, you know, Armageddon's going to happen. Maybe a meteor's going to hit the Earth. Like, maybe these things know that something's happening. They're interacting with people. Like, they can sense it.
It could be, but I think a lot of what it is we're coming in on their territory. Houses are being built out here, around here, right on the edge of the woods. They're populating. Their population is going higher. Our population is going higher. We need more lumber. We need more stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a
And we're
really
taking
good
away
answer.
from them, and it's causing them
Absolutely.
to get in smaller and smaller areas, even though they're getting bigger and bigger.
The best way is to study the Native Americans. How did it affect them when Europeans came here and we started building and cutting down timber? How did they react? And it's the same way with these things. How are they reacting? Now they're coming up and slapping the side of your house, or tearing things up, screaming at you in the woods. You're intruding on their land.
You had some of the Native Americans try to stand their ground, and you had others that moved deeper in, away from them. Then they'd have to move again. You know, until finally they didn't have a choice but to stand their ground. And let's hope this doesn't happen, that we keep them, you know, coming in on them, that they feel like their back is up against the wall.
Yeah. As the forest shrinks, the encounters and experiences intensify.
Right.
It makes sense.
Right. It does. It really does. And I would not doubt that there isn't something that ain't gonna happen that's gonna force them to come out. I mean, Mount St. Helens, there's a lot of stories to that. You would think if there was a large population out there, the government knows it, and supposedly the government was working with them to help save a lot of their species, you know. And, you know, there's rumors that there are kill squads that go after them, especially the ones that are mean or try to say, okay, you loggers ain't coming in here, we're gonna tear up your stuff, and then they send in these people to eliminate them. I mean, I can understand why the government's not gonna tell us. I mean, you think about it, back in the 70s and 80s, everybody thought, oh, I saw a UFO. Oh, you're nuts. They don't exist, buddy. You're crazy. I don't hear no apologies coming out. I don't hear nobody apologizing to all the ones they called nuts. Eventually, it's going to be the same way with this. People ain't going to want to apologize. They're going to say, oh, you were right. Really? I mean, I had no clue. I knew they were in the Ozarks, but I didn't know they were like 100 miles from my house. And now I live 20 minutes from here. And it wasn't because we had already planned on talking and moving anyway. because the type of work I was doing was really hard on me, and I needed to get away from it. And the only way for me to do that was for us to sell out and move. Plus, we wanted a smaller house, we wanted to downsize, we wanted to get ready for retirement. And we ended up here because there was jobs, my wife's still working. I just quit last September. So, but also I want to get into this before I'm dead to try and get as much information possible to try to pass on. They do have a temper. Don't piss them off. God knows, don't piss them off. Don't shoot one. Whatever you do. Because they're not by themselves. And chances are the ones that's coming in is probably a juvenile or a female, and the alpha ain't very far away. Because the alpha seems to be the most standoffish. We've got an alpha out here with a 24-inch foot. On the right foot, 2 toes are sideways. He's got a messed up foot, and then he's got 3 toes pointing forward, 24-inch, probably good 8 inches wide. In fact, Steve's got a casting of it. It's broken 3 pieces. But you can imagine just how big this thing is. And because in summer of 2020, we weren't getting any rain at all. Ground out here was hard as a rock, but that spring, a lot of water had came up out of the creek into these areas down here where it holds water and it holds fish for the wildlife to get in there, be able to get something to eat, everything else. We were walking across there, the grass was up to here, and everywhere I stepped, I was stepping in a hole. I said, Steve, stop. This is crazy. This ought to be smooth. I'm stepping in a hole everywhere I step, and started pulling back grass, and there was a 24-inch print. There was all other different sizes of prints in that grass. But it was so dry and the ground was so cracked, there was no way of really getting a good casting because the print was so old. But you could clearly see the toes, the foot, and some of these scientists are saying it's 2 inches per foot. So you're looking at, this thing would be 12 feet tall. Probably shoulders wider than the front end of my truck. Huge. That's the only one we know of. And that was in 2020. This is 2025, 26, 25. So there's no telling what else has grown into full size out here. No telling. Or how many. I would not doubt there's not even more than what I think there is just in this area. I think there's about 30 or so just in this area. But I could be wrong. But the wildlife is here. Plenty of deer. There used to be all kinds of rabbits out here running around. Ain't no rabbits anymore. We first started camping, rabbits would come out and entertain us. They'd be out here on their hind legs fighting each other, doing flips, 2-3 feet up in the air. I mean, we just sit here and get entertained by them. Now, no rabbits.
So they've depleted the wildlife in this area. I noticed
They may be depleting it pretty good.
Yeah, I noticed that with my drone. That day I went out, I went all the way down that trail, really far down that trail. I didn't see any deer tracks, there was no squirrels, nothing. So I thought, that's weird. Normally when I'm in a conservation area, I see deer tracks all over the place. None. Then I throw the drone up at night. It's got thermal, everything. I saw like 3 deer in all these fields around here. Okay, something's not right. There's soybean fields everywhere, corn fields, water. It's a conservation area. Not very many houses. Where's the deer?
A few years ago, the conservation for this area was asking hunters to come out here and take as much as they could, that the deer was overpopulating and they were inbreeding. And they were getting some messed up deers. and they were begging hunters to come in here and clean them out as best they could. And I would not doubt, and if their population has probably grown over the last 5 years, they may have depleted the food source here.
Yeah, when there's too many deer, that's when the squatch come in.
I honestly do. I think they have moved back out of this area. I'm going to do 2 more camping trips out here this fall. And if it's dead like it has been, I'm going to try some of the other spots where I know I've seen tracks at and everything else. They probably do come back in here to a degree, but I don't think they're staying here like they were. That's my opinion. Because normally you can kind of feel them when they're around. You know, sometimes they kind of put it off on you. I mean, it's just like, it's kind of like, I lived in a house for 12 years with ghosts, and I could tell when the ghost was in the room. I could tell it was a woman and a little girl died in a fire. And I told them, if you ever show yourself to me, I'm going to move out, and God help you for whoever moves in. House had been in the same family for over 60 years. All of them family members knew about the ghost. He even told me the names and stuff, which I don't remember them now. But it was a fire in the 40s, and they were there. And in fact, me and her got divorced. She stayed in the house another 5 years. And I've been back over there with people that rent it. And they talk about finger going down a chalkboard, stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that would happen. Foot of your bed, and you'd hear it jumping from one room to the next. A little girl would go peeping out of the hallway where other people could see her, not where I'd see her, but where they would see her. And stuff would go flying across the room, stuff like that. They weren't mean, they weren't malevolent, so we coexisted.
I agree. You can feel the Sasquatch's presence when they're in the area.
Mm-hmm.
You just hear little noises, things moving around the woods, and then before you know it, you're hearing limbs breaking, wood knocks,
Yep.
screams, and it's just like, you could tell, you just had like this hair-raising feeling, this sixth sense that you're being watched.
Well, it's like I was sitting in my truck waiting on you. I'm sitting in there, got the truck running, listening to some music. Looking in the rear view, and I'm seeing some dark spots over there in the woods. Pull my phone out, kind of zoom in. Can't get a good clear picture, but I took a few, it looked like a face. And while we've been standing here talking, there's a spot up on top of the tree. I can see the limb, but earlier, it looked like a bear hanging off of it. Small bear.
And
Now all I see is the limb.
As you were talking, I could hear something walking around. Maybe it was a deer, a squirrel, but I heard some movement back there.
Yeah, well there's 3
Did you
fox.
hear it?
Yeah, there's 3 fox dens back there.
Maybe it was a fox.
And it could have been a fox.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of times when you're camping here and you're hearing stuff running by your tent at night, it's these foxes back here. And they're scavenging.
Yeah, they're used to people throwing out food, but so are the squatches as well.
Yeah,
But
I mean, there's 2 jars of peanut butter sitting over here, half empty, that somebody's thrown out there. Well, apparently the foxes ain't dug into them, and the Bigfoot ain't been out here to get into them, so what is it? I believe right now we're being watched. I wished I'd have brought a tent to throw it up so I'd keep them here for a while, till Friday night. But, and maybe they'll come back. But I believe we've got at least 1, maybe 2 watching. I mean, the one that was up in the tree, it would have had to have been a juvenile, because there's a clear spot right there. And I can see the limb, but instead of that limb looking like it's about like that, it looked like it was about like this.
That's where I was getting that heat spot last time on the thermal device, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, they get up on that hill and they watch, and like I said, I've got some pictures off a night vision camera. I've got infrared now.
So Your tent was right here.
My tent was right here. Bill's tent was right up there in the grass, probably right about where's dead or on that hump. That's where Bill was at. My truck was parked here where your car's at, backed in. And when I got right about here, from the tent, that's when the screaming started happening. And Bill had already laid down, and he was over here beside me. See, I told you. And this thing was still going off, and just kept going off.
What did the vocalization sound like though?
It was loud, guttural. I mean, it was deafening. It's one of those times when you want to stick your fingers in your ears. And it was just a low voice. That's where I got a lot of my ideas on doing a scream. When I do a yell, that's what I try to do. Is
So you try to imitate what you heard?
I imitate what I've heard out here. It's just like out here, they just don't go whoop, they go who. I've never heard a whoop. And they like the owl calls, and the babies, they like barking. Springtime, if you're out here camping, you hear a puppy barking, you know what it is. You know, because if there was a puppy out here and it's domesticated, it's gonna come running to you. That's all there is to it.
And they're vocalizing from different directions?
Right inside these woods, right here.
Okay.
These woods have thinned out a lot right in here. This right here used to be real thick. You couldn't even get through it because of the vines. But you can see right here, somebody's gotten an opening going, but you couldn't, I mean, yeah, I could have ran down that trail and maybe tried to come around the side of it, but no, I was just, that's when I was thinking, what am I doing out here? Have I lost my mind? Trying to come after something, you know, 5 times my size. And then that night, back on the other side, out in the field, that's where the two groups was arguing. One was back here behind us, and the other one was down by the creek, and they were just screaming back and forth at each other. And finally, that group started walking off. And you could tell they were walking off as they were yelling, because you could just hear it getting fainter. And these 3 back here is like, the big male was grunting, one was squealing, and another one was giving his opinion, because the other one was giving a little chatter.
Yeah.
And which we could only hear it so good. And I got some of it on my phone, I'll send it to you, and see what you come up with.
Okay.
Everybody listens to it, says, oh, it's dogs, but a gorilla goes, ooh. It don't bark like a dog, but it could sound like a dog. Considering I'm way up here, it's probably 100 yards that way. I mean, it could have been on the other side of the field, just inside the woods. But listening to it with my ears, it was a whole lot clearer than what I got on my phone.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 different videos there. Some of them are a little more active than the other, so.
What do you think they were saying to each other?
I think the 2 groups may have been either passing off a female or making a trade or just having a dispute.
Mm-hmm. How did that make you guys feel in the moment?
We were a bit worried. Just with the one up here screaming at us, knowing that one had been here watching us, who knows how long. We got here probably around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This thing could have been watching us for hours. And then we got a group of them back there fighting. 2 weeks after, you had 30 of them up here running Bill off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said it sounded like there was a bunch of them.
Yeah, he said there was probably 25, 30 of them. And they weren't just up on the hillside, they were around this camp.
Okay, so.
And as soon as it got daylight, he threw his stuff in his truck and he booked. He came back out here later that day, talked to the group. I got here about 10 minutes after he did.
Yeah.
And then I hit the ground, found out some campers throwing fish all up and down the road. That's what brought them in. And why so damn many? Because there's no telling how many fish they threw out there.
Yeah.
They probably thought they could all get a meal. And they all showed up and there was no fish and they were ticked off.
Yeah, he said they were growling and
Yep.
doing these vocalizations. He said when he fired off that shot into the air, this thing just screamed and
Yep.
they were all freaking out because they thought
Yep.
one of them had been hit.
Took off down in the woods. He said the brush was just flying and the whole woods, you'd think it would have gotten quiet. No. He said it got even worse. And all he could do was sit there in that tent with his gun in his lap, praying for daylight, because that was probably around 4:30 in the morning. So daylight come along, probably before 6. He threw his stuff in his truck and he booked. Swore he wouldn't come back, but I called him and talked to him, said, look, I'll go with you. I know I was supposed to come out there with you, but I had to work, had some stuff come up, had to go to Jonesboro, and I was here that evening. So me and the wife, we stayed and we had stuff. We had one get close, a little ticked off, but we had no fire going, no lights, no nothing. We were just sitting here in the dark. With Bill, we always kept lanterns going on the picnic table.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I call an active area.
Yeah.
And it's kind of tapered off since then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has. And I think it's the wildlife is thinned out. That with my truck.
Yeah.
Let's try a call and see if something.
So that's what it sounded like when they were calling?
Yeah, only a lot longer.
Okay.
A lot longer. And I mean, I was vaping at the time. I wasn't smoking. I had a lot more lung capacity, and boy, I could bellow it out. But a lot of times I would get, most of the time, if there's one in the area, I would get a reply.
Mm-hmm.
It's just strange that when I walked, I got here, I could see some stuff there in the woods.
I swear I heard a whistle when I turned down this road.
Yeah, I think they're here, but I don't think they're as thick as what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna keep trying. I'm hoping to get a little bit better with setting equipment out, because I get busy with everybody and then I just get to where that I forget, set stuff out and stuff like that. And because I've got several video recording, but of course now I don't have any high dollar stuff. I've got some cheap stuff. And that's because with ghost hunting, I don't really need anything that lasts more than a couple hours. So, and I need to get stuff that's going to last several hours.
All right, that was Eric from Southeast Missouri. And there has been a lot of Bigfoot reports from this area, so I'm really glad I'm finally getting people to speak up, and I was able to check out this conservation area for myself, and it certainly seems like an area where these creatures would like to hang out at because of the waterways, the dense forest, the farmland, and it seems like they're here because of the water and because of the food source. And we often hear reports off the Mississippi River of people encountering Sasquatch, so it totally makes sense. If you have a Bigfoot encounter from this area you would like to share with me, please get in touch with me sometime. And until the next one, you guys be safe out in the forest.